Okay, guys, now I got this is another little tutorial. This is kind of off topic from where I was going to do. I was going to do this later on, but I had a question that got mailed to me and things like that. And the guy specifically asked me in my inventory thing how I would deal with using an object pool for our inventory buttons and things. And well, it was an interesting task and things, but I think it came up with a nice little solution. So now I've got this instance right here that's made at runtime. If we don't have one, it will make one. Okay. And based on how many items we have in our inventory right here, we'll go with here. But let's say I want more. Okay, we're just going to duplicate this out to 10, and when the inventory has this, it will do an instantiation. These are all object pooled now. So if I disable this and enable it, anytime there's a change, it updates and makes a button. If I go to remove one of these, like let's say, let's just disable this button right here and go in our bag space, and on our last one, in game, we'll put no. And we'll put this button to be null, because that's what the destruction will be later on. I haven't made it that far yet, but I didn't want to make this video too long right off the bat. Now this one is going to come out of the pool. If we enable this, we have the same amount of buttons. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if I go through here, and let's go to one here, and we disable all these, and because they're not in game yet, we'll put 10, because that's how many we got, and this one is filled in. It kept the reference. Ah, oh, man, that's so terrible. So kept the reference to it, which is kind of a bummer. Maybe I should, you know what, in the next video, we're going to deal with making buttons for all these. To null out the references or something like that later on. So what I'm going to do is go through here and just clear out all these other ones, because that's what we're going to end up doing, is breaking the reference, okay, for a function. I didn't write that function because it's too customized, just tailored for this, and it deals with destroying and things, and everybody's a little different. So what I'm going to do is just break the reference here, because that's what it's probably going to check anyway, which I do believe in code it checks. So we have 10 buttons here, and it's in the pool. Okay, so next time I open up the thing, it's not going to instantiate any buttons. It's going to keep the same ones, and it does. We've got one that's disabled still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it's because we don't have 10 items in our list, do we? We have, actually, technically we have we have 10. Well, that's interesting. Maybe it's because I had this one already in here, so let's check the reference. This one, oh, that one goes to the second one. Oh, we have two that reference the same thing, so there you go. That's interesting. I wonder why it did that. But it could be a lot of things. So, how did I get this to pop up in the world as a new object in runtime. It's very simple to do, and I will probably do it a lot more. It's pool instance. Okay, so this isn't in the game yet. What if I went instance pool? Come on, bring up the menu. Instance pool, instance pool. Okay, if I have one, it shouldn't instantiate one. See, it didn't instantiate one. Okay, so if it's null, it will automatically just make one. So you really don't have to make your own and everything else. It's built in, like, okay? And I'll show you how to do it. This might be a 2-part episode, so please be patient. If you don't understand it, I may even release some of the scripts just to make it a lot more understandable, so you could fiddle around with it and everything. Okay? So let's go into the code and look and see how we did stuff. Okay, so here's our inventory thing. We are still checking everything like we did, but we have a few other things. After this in-game, we have these 2 references. Okay, pool is our inventory pool. Okay, and it's null right off the bat. Then we grab the pool instance by doing pool instance dot instance. Okay, very shorthand, very easy to do. Okay, so if instant pool, which is our pool instance, equals null, it will go instant pool equals instant pool dot build instance. Okay, building the instance. Okay, so it will build the instance if it doesn't have one. Like, let's say you went from one level to the next and everything got unloaded, so you want to load it back up and stuff, and you don't, I would say don't destroy, unload, and all that other stuff. But the problem is, when you have a pooling system, everything goes into a list. When you start a new level and you keep the thing, then you have to check for null every single time that you go to get something out of the pool. Which, if you do that, that's kind of performance heavy, because you're going to be doing it how many times? Every single time. Which I know our buttons don't. Our buttons have to be instantiated and everything pretty quickly. And I don't want them to be like hesitant because they're checking for nulls or anything else. I want them just to fly out there and be done. Okay? This is the only change that I really made next to this one. Okay? Which this one is pool, which is pool equals instant pool, which is our instance, our instant thing, instant pool, dot get pool. And we pass it a button. Now what this does is, I'll explain this function. It goes through a dictionary and it pulls out the correct pool system for that button. So any type of different button that you have, it will pull the buttons. See, I'm not creating, I have a prefab just for this button, okay? And if we want a different type of button, all we gotta do is drag it in there. So let's say I put my AK-47 in the, and I give it the wrong button. The AK-47 could be a hand weapon now. That's supposed to be in that slot. And, you know, all we have to do, not go into the code, we go right into the button, and we change out the button in the list. That's all we do. Very simple, very intuitive in the inspector. So you don't have to go look into the code right here. Button, and we get the prefab. Okay, then we set it to true. Okay, because anytime you get something out of the pool, most of the time we want it to set it active, because If it's disabled, we can't see it. So we keep, that kind of stuff around. Now this right here is for setting up the inventory. If you don't know what this does, please go watch my other 2 videos of inventory, weapon inventory, and it will tell you what it's doing. Because I'm not going to go over this part right here because we've already went through it and there's no changes there, so it's technically completely utterly useless for me to waste your time some more. Now this has been into its own little file. There's no changes there. Okay. The utilities, no changes. This has got a few changes. Okay. And I commented. Okay, we made a different class down here. And this class is abstract. And it's just for taking these variables out. Okay, because later when I want to serialize something, I want a class to do something different. I put this abstract right now, so that way it will flag me in my own brain to go, hey, we need to do something here. Okay. Is instantiated is a function that I'm going to be experimenting with. The only changes is I took these 2 bools that used to be in here in the inventory equipment and put them here. Okay. The unowned, I made a few changes here. I made the drop null and set the game object to be deactivated. And we changed the 2 bools that come from our parent class, which is the inventory object. That's all I did for that. Now, for the bulk of the thing, the inventory menu thing, which has our array, on enable, okay, update, I put this here just in case you needed to get references or something like that. We went over this function right here in the other classes, and like I said, those 1 changes are already explained to you right now. Okay. These are not new. They're just not totally into that. So here's our pooling class. Okay. Namespace, I want to go inventory.pooling because this is an inventory pooling. Okay. It's going to hold all of our inventory like button stuff. This is tailored and I want it just for this purpose. Okay. So what's it like? We got a private class right here. Private. These are both private to its own thing. Okay. This is the game object. It does not have to be instantiated. This is a reference right here. Okay. This is the entire pool. Everything that's in the pooler will be here. This is not a mono behavior as well. So it will not be put into the scene. Okay, this is a regular C# class. Now we have this right here. When you are doing what I'm doing, I want to override the base behavior in the C#. So when you go like, let's say vector3, go, and you can go equals new vector3, and then sometimes they got overloads in them, like, come on. You could put AF, AF, AF. That's what I'm basically doing here. So this right here is assigned these values, correct? Well, when you do that, they have to make little functions in the vector3 class like these 2 in order to do it. Okay? And that's what I'm programming this class to do. This is the base behavior one. You must have that in order to do an overloaded version of it. Name it the same thing, and it must be public. So instead of just doing a start method or something like that, I did inventory pool and pass an object. It instantiates one prefab of it, disables it, adds it to its pool. Okay, that's all it does. All right. Now, that's just basically for initializing the pool. Okay, it sets the reference and it also makes sure there's one in the pool. Okay, there's always by default going to be one. Now you could change this to make it where it has like 10 or whatever. Okay, if this was bullets, I would put more. But since it's buttons, I'm not really too concerned about the number until we start getting really, really high amounts or something of that form. Okay, now in the pool, we'll get public game object, get object. Okay, then we do a for loop. If it's active, if pool.i.gameObject is active in hierarchy equals false, then we return it. Okay, so this loop will end right here if this returns false for any reason. Okay, if it does not turn false, then we go down here and we instantiate one. We don't do any of the length checks or anything like that. We just instantiate one, add it to the pool, and return it. And that's a basic pool. It's completely unlimited. It is not bound by a number of any sort. Okay? And the reason why I did that is just because I don't want to overcomplicate it and things like that. If you wanted to do some check and things like that, you can. It's very simple. I wanted it to be as simple as possible. Okay? Now, so that takes care of our pooling system here. Okay? You must have generic and you must have the Unity engine. Generic is because we're using a list, and that's part of this library, generic. Okay? Unity engine is because we're using game objects. Okay? Now you might be able, no, actually you won't, because you won't have access to the instantiate if you don't have that. And now if you are trying to write this and you're typing in instantiate this game object, but you don't put this here, it's because we're working in a regular C# class. So you have to go gameObject.instantiate. If you're working in a mono behavior, then you won't have to put this here. Okay? Now, for our pool instance, I wrote lots and lots of comments in here. We must have the inventory pooling namespace. We must have generic because we use a dictionary. Okay, and we must have the Unity engine because this is a mono behavior, and we work with game objects, which are references. Now, we have a public static pool instance. Okay, this is a static reference. Like if you're familiar with singletons, you will remember this call right here. The static reference to itself. But like everything else, we have to set the instance. Key on the onEnable. We have onEnable be executed because it goes before start, and I believe before awake. It's like bam, bam, bam. It's like right up there on the first in line, and then everybody else is last. Okay? And we only start won't work for this because we need it to be executed before all the buttons and stuff. But we have this public function right here, which is just a regular function, get pool, which we pass in a reference. Okay? So now we have pooler.contains keys. So this is going through and it's going prefab. Okay? So our dictionary, for the key, it uses a prefab, and it will return its value, which is our pool instance. Okay? And if you get null problems and stuff like that, like the dictionary's coming up null, write this line right here. Okay? Make sure you write this line right through here. Equals new pool thing. It'll tell the compiler that it's not null right off the bat. And things. It works quite nicely. So if it contains the key, equals false. So the prefab, we don't have a key to this yet. So it's false. So we go pooler.add the prefab that we got passed, and then we go new inventory pool. And notice this prefab right here. Very, very important that you understand what this means. Okay? This right here is because we put this code right here. Okay? So if you're getting problems with that call, right here is the code that you did not write out correctly. Okay? And if you don't have this code right here in here, it will still work. It just won't. the pool instance thing won't instantiate correctly. It won't set the referencing and everything. See, that's why I wrote this code in here, because it'll set up all this garbage here right off the bat. Okay? Then we return the pool based on its reference key. So we pass in the thing, and it exists now. It's in there. So if this returns true, it goes to this else statement. It just returns the pool. Simple, easy peasy. Don't have to please me. Okay? Now, here is the... I don't see too many people doing this. So this will be kind of new to you and interesting. And you might like it, you might not, but I'm going to explain it anyway. So you remember in our inventory thing how I had a function call, where it was in the utility, this build instance, if it's null for any reason, it goes pool instance dot build instance. Okay, this call right here. Well, this call, what it actually is doing is it's going down here, it's going public static. This is a static thing, so it will always exist. And it's returning something, okay? Very important you don't put this as a void and stuff, because you want it to return something. Because you don't want to go instance.instance again and just keep, going in some kind of cycle. That would be just dumb. So I have it return the instance. It's static and returning an instance. Okay? I do a game object P equals new game object. Okay? Then I do P.name equals pool instance dot runtime made. Okay? And I put this flag up here so that way it's not super important that it already exists, but it tells me as a developer, hey, I never put one into the scene. So it might be a behavior that I want into the scene and go, hey, I need to put a pool instance script somewhere in the scene. If I don't have one and I need one, it'll build it for me. So it's kind of one of those try-catch things. Hey, I messed up, but guess what? It's not going to break on me. Because what it's going to do is it's going to build one for me. So I've got the game objects. So I do pool instance dot instant pool equals p dot add component, and we add the pool instance, the pooler instance. Okay. Then we simply return it. So it makes a nice little function into our utilities and everything, where if we don't have one and stuff, it just flatjack makes one if it's ever null. And the game will keep continuing. Not, oh, wait, and blow up, and then you're like, oh my god, what did I do wrong? I got these error messages and you don't know what to do. Well, guess what? We made it very simple to not have that happen. And as a developer, trying to no matter, well, here's the thing. The bigger your game, the more complex the bugs become because you can have some cascading bugs. Okay, if this returns null, then all these other things will probably, mess up because it just doesn't know what to do. The game just breaks. Okay, so you're sitting there looking at your pool instance. You're like, oh, what's wrong here? Is there a problem here? Well, it says there is, but in reality, it's this value here. It never gets set correctly, probably. So, just to warn you, sometimes bugs aren't actually bugs. It's just because they cascaded and didn't know what to do. And this works marvelous. Marvelous. You will be surprised on how good this actually works. And I'll probably be using this build instance thing in the tutorials for the tower defense and stuff, because we do stuff like that, and it makes it a lot easier for the game to run properly. Okay, and it's not a static class, so it's not always in existence, so it unloads in memory as well. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, seriously, it was actually a really I liked how this one turned out. I'm actually pretty happy with it. I don't know why I didn't do other things like that. And I'll probably be changing some code and stuff like that to more accommodate things like the build instance or something of that nature. So you'll probably see some of it in the tower defense videos. If you watch them, please say you do, because those take a lot of time and they're not exactly easy to come up with sometimes. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. It's not no 5-minute job, I'll tell you. But if you like this video, if you want to break YouTube and slam the little bell down there until your little heart and the little gerbil wheel that's running YouTube decides to wheel out some updates or something, or fix their colossal mistakes, then make them scream out loud, get you a nice little drink because it's probably hot outside, and stay cool and classy. But this is for over and out, and thank you very much for watching. Peace out, everybody, and take care. And there will be another episode of this series. Don't you worry. Bye-bye, guys.